It's time for more VB MMA picks for UFC 316. Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2 on Saturday, June 7th at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Hey, VB loves to regionalize it. We've got Kyle Anthony from Wager Talk. He's going, VB, to the fights, I think, on Saturday night. The great main event. Dvalishvili versus O'Malley. We'll preview a couple of fights as well. Kyle, thanks for being here. VB, great night on good night betting. Fair. We were there. We watched the fights. I guess that's all we can say, VB, about Saturday night, last Saturday.
Yeah. It was 9-fight card. The main event got canceled last second. It was hectic, but we made 6 units, so can't be mad at that. And I just think in general, smaller cards are a little bit easier to bet. These fight nights, some of these lines get very juiced. As we see on this card, we have so many big favorites. So me and Kyle, I think, picked very competitive fights here. Of course, the main event is a little bit juiced too, but we always do main events. So other two are very competitive line fights. And, I want to talk about them. I want to hear what Kyle thinks about those fights also. He's a very sharp copper. So I want to thank him for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And we got some good fights to talk about. I will be there. Excited about it. It's going to be a really great card. It's such a stacked card. Sometimes when I go to these events, I try not to be there for the full 6 hours. I try to go a little bit later into the night. But this is when I'm probably going to. I'll be part of the prelim gang, I think, and seeing these early fights going on live.
Yeah, no doubt about it. VB, Kyle said our tickets are at will call. We just got to make it to New Jersey somehow before Saturday night. So thanks, Kyle.
Meet you there.
Watch the fights here on pay-per-view this week. So let's get into it, guys, with a great card this week. VB MMA Picks is brought to you by SXBet, the world's largest blockchain betting exchange. All right, let's go to it now. Kyle, we're going to go right into some good action here with heavyweights. You got 30-year-old Sergey Spivak from Moldova. He's 17-5, 8-5 in the UFC. He's lost 2 of his last 3, including a round 1 KO loss to Almeida back at 311 in January. Was about a 350 dog in that one. He's up against a 33-year-old Dominican, Waldo Cortez Acosta. He's fighting out of Phoenix, 13-1, 6-1 in the UFC. He's won 4 straight, including that round 2 knockout of Span in March as a $1.80 favorite. So, hey, got to have a better card this week, Kyle. How about these heavyweights?
Yeah, this one here, I thought is the first thing is the line movement. I was a little shocked to kind of see, it was like 165 or somewhere around there, not long ago. And now we're seeing around 125. It was something where I did think that I actually thought it might increase. I didn't think we would see that type of money kind of coming in here, especially that early and steaming it down low. And, I get it. Waldo is a guy that's got, good boxing, good hand speed, good footwork. There's a lot of things that he does do and that he can possibly cause problems. Obviously, he's going to be the far better striker, between these two. But it's just that there is an absolutely, which, that's really the debate here, right? If you like Waldo, you're saying, hey, he's going to keep it standing. He's going to box him up. If you're like Spivak, you think he gets the grappling going. And I think there's just a clear vulnerability there. I think it's I'm just surprised that the market is kind of moving that way. And you even look at just some of the guys that he has fought. I mean, a lot of them, you're really striker based. You're really looking at guys that are just going to be striking, that aren't going to be looking for those takedowns. And, over his last 4 fights, he only had to defend 2 takedowns, over the last 4. And that was against Ryan Spann, who is not really your, a primary wrestler type of thing going on there. So I think that's interesting enough. And the guy that he lost to is, DeLima, who got 3 takedowns, got, about 5 minutes of control time, and it was his only loss. So, I think it sets up nicely here, and I get it, Spivak, he's a little slower, a little more plodding, but that first round and early, he's a go-getter. He's going to go out there. He's going to shoot. He's going to sell out for the takedowns. I think he's going to be very positionally. I think he's going to find a lot of success there. And I think the smothering part of it is really going to be tough for Waldo. I mean, how is he really going to be able to find a lot of that range unless Spivak really starts to gas late, which obviously I think is a little bit of a concern where, if he's grinding out 2 rounds, how does he look in the third? But Waldo, to me, is a guy that can be taken down, can be controlled. I think that Spivak's grappling overall, I think it's pretty underrated. And I think that's why this line is moving where it's moving. But I think that this is a spot here where, a guy that came to the UFC in 2019, and now he's kind of entering his prime now. He's 30 years old. I feel like he's much older than that. He's a 30-year-old heavyweight. I think that he can get this going. I think he can push that pace, smother him up against the fence, rinse and repeat. I think there's going to be some moments there. I think that Waldo, at range, having those faster hands, I think is going to be a concern. But I think if he crashes the pocket and rinses and repeats on that, I think he finds a lot of success. So I haven't bet this yet, but I'm going to see where this goes. I like Spivak here. I think Spivak is the side here. And it seems like it kind of has settled at that minus 125 range, but we'll see where it goes. But I do like Spivak in this spot.
VB, Spivak was supposed to go up against Gazayev a couple of weeks ago. They kind of rescheduled, and then all of a sudden Gazayev, who knows if he really pulled out, or maybe they wanted this fight with the former LFA champ, VB.
Yeah, I agree with most of the things that Kyle said. Waldo, he fights a lot of strikers, and we just don't know about his wrestling that much. The Rogerio fight, I actually had big bet on Rogerio because of the leg kicks,
Mm-hmm.
I think Waldo just doesn't check any kicks ever. Like, he just stands there. He's a pure boxer and gets kicked a lot. But some people, like, the guy Lucas who he fought, and, Spain, they were throwing some looping shots over and over. They were very wild, and Waldo was able to, like, outstrike them, But Spivak has some kicks. I don't want to say he's a good kicker. I actually watched his older fights against Ibura. He actually used some kicks in that fight. But since then, he's not been, kind of just wrestling these guys, cage pushing these guys, So I just think he really needs a takedown here to win this fight. I don't think on the feet he's going to do well because Waldo is faster. He has better boxing. He's more used to striking pace, Like, Spivak on the feet looks very, very, like, uncomfortable, He's like, shells up against the cage sometimes and stuff like that. So I don't think he feels comfortable standing. He wants this fight on the ground, and I do think he can get takedowns here. I do think he can get a few takedowns, some body locks. Put him against the cage, take his back there, control him there. So I do think that he can be winning those minutes with grappling. The line is pretty close because, again, it comes down to what happens if Spivak, doesn't get a takedown, and that's the fight here. If Spivak wrestles and gets takedowns, he wins. If he doesn't, he probably loses. So it's hard to guess at this point, but I'm also going Spivak. I just think that the wrestling upside is, usually when the line is close, you probably would, should go with a wrestler, and he has a, upside to look like a big favorite also. So
Yeah.
I just usually take those sides. In general, when it's a wrestler or a striker, I prefer a wrestler. And it's not like on the feet Spivak is completely clueless, like he's like, it's not like that either. But I just think if he doesn't use kicks, he's going to be struggling. So I hope he uses kicks that can slow down Waldo. And then if he doesn't get a few takedowns, at least put him against the cage, at least try to control him there, So those two things could be good game plan, for Spivak. And current line is, I'm looking at these lines on X6 here. It's minus 142 here. It's a little bit steep, but I'll try to, just go 100 for the show's sake here. Maybe minus 120, maybe 125, Let's see if this gets filled. If not, I'll try again. Yeah. This is what I'm going with Spivak also. But again, not the most confident pick, because it's like sometimes, like even against Carlos Felipe, the guy he fought, I watched that fight today, he was taking a lot of time to shoot, man. Like, he was standing for 3 minutes against this guy. And as soon as he shot, he got him down easily. But he sometimes can't enter the, pocket. They can't close the distance fast enough to get these takedowns. That's his problem, in my opinion, in general. So once he gets down, though, he's a very good, grappler. He actually has good armbar series. He has good, triangle chokes. So on the top and from his back, he's pretty good. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going with the Spivak also.
Okay, and that's our look there at the regular preliminary card. Let's get into two events now from the main card on Saturday night. And BB, we're going to start here with bantamweights. You've got 31-year-old Mario Bautista. He's from Nevada, but fights out of Glendale, Arizona. 15-2, 9-2 in the UFC. He's won 7 straight, dating back to February of 22. He's coming in off of a split decision win over Aldo at 307 back in October as a 125 favorite. Now, he was another one where he was scheduled to be in a matchup here with Vera, but, things have unfolded a little bit differently, at least in this division, but still they kind of brought Mix in here. Everybody's wanting to see this guy's debut. The 31-year-old from Buffalo fights out of Las Vegas. The former Bellator champ won 7 straight pro bouts, including a split decision win over Magomedov to defend the title. He was nearly a $4 favorite in that one, BB. So people have been kind of waiting to see Mix get in here into the UFC. What do you have here with bantamweights?
Yeah, a lot of people are waiting for Mix to make his debut, right? And he's a big name in MMA at this point. He was Bellator champion a few times. He did very good things in Bellator. His grappling is excellent. He has some knee knockouts, couple decisions, but overall he's a finisher. And I'm a big fan of Pachi. I think he's a very fun fighter. His back takes are sensational. One of the best back takers in MMA, in my opinion. Shout out to Liam in the comments. Thanks for joining. And I just think that I talked about this fight to Liam actually this morning. New York backpack. Yeah. I just think when it comes down to UFC debut, though, people do weird stuff sometimes. When it comes to UFC debut, they don't do what they should. Sometimes they come to UFC and they're like, okay, I'm in the UFC now, and I gotta be more exciting. I gotta take more risks. I gotta do this and that. And sometimes they don't follow the game plan. Sometimes they don't wrestle. Sometimes they don't shoot. They try to stand there and strike. Like Patricio Pitbull a few months ago, barely shot in that fight. He was standing there trying to get a knockout. There was no grappling he tried at all. I was like, damn. I was hoping at least he would try a few takedowns, but he didn't try. He wanted to get a knockout. He was talking about a title fight, and Pachi is maybe in the same headspace here. He maybe wants to come here and strike maybe a little bit, test it out. Maybe if he can land some big shots or something. But I think that would be a mistake. If Batista is gonna put crazy volume on him, and if he doesn't shoot early, he's gonna be getting tired. We saw in that Archuleta fight that the first 2 rounds he was kind of dominated with his grappling, but once he couldn't get a takedown, he kind of completely abandoned the wrestling. Completely forgot about his jiu-jitsu. He was standing there striking with him. He was hitting body shots like for 3 rounds and couldn't get anything going. So I think if you want to beat a guy like Mario, you got to take his back, in this fight. You probably should take him down, go for some kind of risky even attempts, like go for, I don't know, go for a single leg. If he doesn't get you, pull guard, try to get something going, I just think that on the feet, Mario has big upside as far as like landing strikes, more experienced, in my opinion, in striking. Well, like Pachi doesn't really strike in his fights. So Mario at the UFC level especially has shown very good striking, He's shown very good takedown defense, to be fair, also. I just think he's never really fought anybody like Pachi, though. If you look at his guys, he fought like Miles Johns, like for example, those kind of type of wrestlers, Miles Johns, Ricky Simon. The guys he fought are very short and they don't have good control at all. Well, when Ricky Simon takes people down, most of the people actually get up, like he doesn't have a good control. With Pachi, when he takes you down or takes your back, you're not going anywhere, That's a big difference, in my opinion. If Pachi gets a takedown or back take, it could be a round or a finish even. When Ricky takes you down, people get up all the time, Sometimes doesn't mean a thing. So I just think that Pachi has a big favorite upside with his finish. Mario can make it very hard if he sprawls and tries to out-volley him on the feet. But I also watched Mario's tape a few days ago. He was making a lot of mistakes against Blackshear. He gave his back to Blackshear multiple times. He got taken down. He got back taken. But in the first round, there was a moment where Blackshear couldn't put the hook in, and he actually reversed them, So I don't think you can do that to Pachi. If Pachi who has one hook in, he's gonna put the second hook in and keep you there. So there was few moments in Blackshear fight that decided to fight, in my opinion, early, and then Blackshear got tired in 2-3 because he couldn't get the control and damage going. So again, Blackshear is good grappler, but he's not Pachi in my opinion. So again, right now minus 160, I'm a little bit hesitant. UFC debut, better striker, a little bit like. Physicality wise, Bautista is like wider. I think he's taller, but he's like jacked. He's got good supplements, so he's pretty physical. And it worries me a little bit. Pachi is kind of skinny guy, a little bit, athletic and everything, but he's not like super hard hitter. He's not super physical. He has hard time getting takedowns sometimes even. So what Pachi needs is a back take, and he's maybe the best back taker in MMA right now. Like he's up there. He takes people's back. He chokes them out. His guillotine is nasty, also super nasty guillotine. He has all kinds of guillotines he goes to, So again, finishing upside is on the guy who is a small favorite, makes sense. But at minus 160, I'm gonna pick him, but I don't think I'll bet him. If I get minus 130, or maybe a little bit better, maybe minus 120, I would for sure bet him. For me, it's like Pachi or pass because he can look minus 400 here. Get a one takedown, get a sub. If Mario wins. Probably a few close rounds, you just sit in the end or something. That's how Mario usually wins his fights. So, yeah, I will try to get minus 130 on SX. I don't think it will work, but I will. Maybe until Saturday will. By the way, Spivak got filled, it seems. Yeah, minus 125. Somebody took the other side. When I take minus 125 on Spivak, the other side gets like plus 125. So there is no vig on betting exchange here. Yeah, what you think, Kyle? I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, high leverage here, Kyle. Obviously, no problem to throwing him, dare I say, right into the mix.
Yeah, as I was going back and forth at this one, when I was researching and looking at it, and as I'm looking at it, the line's getting wider. And there are like what VB said. Obviously his back takes, are elite. He's got, his nasty guillotines. The submission game he has, and his finishing ability. There's a lot to like about him, and I definitely think that maybe a little bit of the early line, but like to what VB is saying, I think it's getting a little wide. But one of the things that I think that kind of was a little bit of a worry was his most recent fight against Magomedov, and that was where he's a minus 350 favorite. It was a spot where maybe stylistically it didn't allow him to do what he wanted to do, but it was a spot where once he couldn't get the wrestling going, he's on his back foot. He just looked a little out of sorts with the striking. He seemed just really one-dimensional at that point. And I think that those are things where it can allow somebody like Bautista, I think, to find some type of success here. And, he's very explosive. He's a guy that's going to push that volume out, like you were saying. And I think that's the big thing here where, how's that all going to work out where you got the wrestler who's going to push that pace. But I think the volume and the pressure is really going to be how Bautista is going to be able to kind of keep him on the back foot. And I think that's where this battle is going to be taking place. I do think that, there is an argument here. I think that you could even say that Bautista is the better wrestler between these two here. And that could actually make it again, where this could be the physicality advantage of Bautista kind of keeping this standing. Yes, Pachi's going to get his opportunities. And that's the thing, he's going to get him down. It's going to be the get up game. It's going to be, can he get him back up? How's that going to look? Because again, if Pachi gets him down, the finish could be right behind that. But I do think that, that Bautista is live here. And again, it's another spot where I'm kind of seeing where this line is moving at this point. Where is it going to go? And if there's going to keep being the money coming in on Pachi. But I do think that, what Bautista does can counter some of the really good things that Pachi does. And that's why I think that it can be, if he can keep this standing, obviously it's not going to be the whole fight, but when he's standing, I think that he's going to land the more impactful shots, probably the more damage, and land and definitely outland him round by round if he can kind of, scramble, keep back to his feet. So I think that it definitely is a tough fight for him coming right into the UFC in a fight like this. And I think that, there's a debate of, is the UFC trying to get Patchy a win, or is the UFC trying to set him up for the loss? Like there's that kind of outside of the cage debates, but I think that this is a spot where it should probably be around, I think, a slight favorite, maybe like we were talking about Spivak, like a minus 125, I think, for Patchy. But now we're getting, the plus 140 number. We could get higher on Batista. And I think that the physicality, his striking, his volume is going to be a lot here for Patchy. And I think that's where he could possibly pull this victory out. So I do take, what's his name? Batista to get the job done here. I think that the volume and everything else is going to get it done for him.
Yeah, I many people don't know about this. I understand why, and you mentioned one thing, interesting point about the debut, right? UFC maybe trying to set up Patchy, maybe not. But thing is, man, like Mario Bautista makes Belal Muhammad look like Justin Gaethje, sometimes. Like, he's very boring, like, I don't think UFC really wants this guy in title fights and all this stuff. So I gotta disagree with you. I think UFC kind of likes these big Bellator names. They gave like Patricio Pitbull fairly, like, on paper at least, looked like a winnable fight, top 5 guy, right? So it's like, I think they're trying to kind of test them, but also give them big chances. So I think that UFC kind of wants Patchy here, new contender maybe in the division, where with Batista winning like another decision or something, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I just don't think that UFC is really interested in Batista business that much,
Who do you think's the better wrestler between the two? Who would you gauge as like who's got the better wrestling?
It's pretty close.
I mean, it's definitely close. Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, I just think that like, as far as wrestling, like, I think double leg, like, double leg, single leg, those kind of attacks, I would give it to Batista. He was able to land those two against Demon Vexir. For example, he took him down a few times. He reversed him also. And I would wrestling, yeah, but I don't think Patchy needs wrestling. Patchy fought many people who had better wrestling than him and choked them out. Like, somebody overextends, he takes their back very smoothly. He's very slick with back takes. He has all kinds of ways to take your back. So,
definitely.
Did you actually see on his the video? He said he was watching like Bautista TV. He was like, I would submit this guy, and I would submit all of his team, whoever is training here or something.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe Kyle mentioned his true odds. Maybe. Yeah. Are bookmakers anticipating Mix to be a public favorite here and wanting to open them up a little bit? Because, I mean, Kyle, you're one of the top analysts in the game, and even he was reaching for Bautista's name there, right? So even though Bautista may lead the marquee here in this one, we're here to see Mix. Could he be the public choice here, guys?
Yeah, I mean, not really. So far, it's money has, Bautista was plus 170. It's down to 140, 150 range. So it's like some money is coming on Batista as far as right now. But by Saturday, I actually think that Patchy's odds are going to go lower. I think Kyle, it's probably, I don't think you'll get a better odds than 150 on Batista this week. That's my opinion, But again, I could be wrong. And as Kyle said, that's what I also tried to get on SX. I just tried minus 130. If it gets filled, I would be fine with it,
Yeah.
But that's anything over that is a little bit trying to like force it, 60-40 Patchy seems like a fair estimate maybe. But anything over that is a little bit assuming, like, he's even gonna wrestle maybe, you know what I mean? Like, people come to UFC debuts, it's the jitters and everything. They do a lot of mistakes sometimes. They try things that they shouldn't do. So we'll see. It's a very good fight though, and very good test for both, in a way. So
okay. Fair enough. We want to see Patchy get in there. We've been waiting for it. A rumor that was 6 months old, and it only took 2 weeks here to develop the situation, get him in here in a top fight here on Saturday night.
Okay. Yeah, and actually, thanks to Glimbat for the donation. I gotta say, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. Hey, we're just testing it. Way to go! All right. It's working.
It's working, my guy. Thank you.
Congratulations to you, BB. I know we share this channel, but congratulations to you, BB. Over 1,000 subscribers here now this week, and we've been doing it for a few years. So thanks to all the viewers as well, and all of our regulars there in the chat. All right, let's right now talk about VB. Hey, we talked about how ugly the card was. Kyle, VB, sometimes that's the ones we make money on, right? VB, Ardeline, Gamrot, Nascimento, Brahmaj by sub, and also Levitt, dominating submission win. Good job getting us some wins there, 6.5 units on a pretty crummy night there, especially after what unfolded in the main event.
Yeah, man, you said the best. I had some good wins last week, and I have a good feeling about the summer. Last 2 summers were horrible, but this summer I have a good feeling for some reason. So let's keep it going. Last week I had some good plays. Nascimento, the main event got canceled, but Klein, I thought was gonna get ragdolled, and he did. And some other good plays. Brahimaj sub, Leavitt sub was big play for me, and it cashed plus 300. So we was happy with those. But hit me up this week if you wanna get involved. I'm gonna have card ready on Friday. I took few plays early, but I'm running for props on other books, and I'll have it ready in a couple of days. So yeah, hit me up, and if you want to use the the exchange we're using, you can go to the link below, and you can get these odds. I just got Spivak minus 125. So let's see if Pachi gets split at minus 130, but probably it's gonna take some time. It's early right now, and people are still deciding where to go. Like sharp money is about to come in soon, I think. So we'll see where it goes. And Liam with a funny comment: Pachi beating Merab would not be in BB's dream, but it would be in mine. Let's talk about that. Actually, Liam, I think they're kind of like friends or something. I saw their sparring footage once, their photo. So I think they're kind of not a teammates, but they're friendly. So we'll see if they fight or not. But first, Pachi has to win this because he's not even ranked. So.
All right, we'll follow VB on X, and you can talk to him directly in his DMs. Get this week's fight card for UFC 316. All right, let's get to that main event right now. Sorry, VB, went a little too far. Here we go. Got your man here. Let's get to it. Bantamweight, your man, Merab Dvalishvili, the 34-year-old Georgian, fights out of Garden City Park, New Jersey, hanging out with Kyle, of course, 19-4, 12-2 in the UFC's 1-5 straight, coming off that unanimous decision win. Kyle over Nurmagomedov at UFC 311 in January, defend the belt as a dog. Don't forget, in that fight is up here against 30-year-old Sean O'Malley, famously fighting out of Helena, Montana, out of Scottsdale here these days, 18-2, 10-2 in the UFC with a no contest. He comes in off that unanimous decision loss to Merab, of course, last September as a 125 favorite, losing the belt there after the wins over Sterling and Vera. So we've come to a crossroads here, Mr. Anthony, on Saturday night.
Yeah, this one here, the first time they fought, I had 5 units on Merab, plus 115. Great win. Got out there, got the job done. And the thing about it is that, now you've obviously, it's the same fight, but completely different odds. And we're seeing now that Merab, massive favorite here, big favorite. And the one thing that when I even go back and rewatching that fight was, I feel like maybe the narrative after it was it was close, like it was a close fight. I think there were moments there, but when you kind of look at, you go back, you look at, even just the total strikes, like Merab had like 200 to his like 50 as total strikes, and then significant was like 80-40, like 80 Merab, 40, but he also had 6 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time. It was, I thought, a pretty solid showing. It wasn't like when we got the scorecards, we were like, oh man, did Merab do it? I think everyone at that point was like, even Sean was like, yeah, I lost. So I don't think it was as close. And I think that the 5th round really sticks into some people's minds about how close that fight was, where he did hit him with the body shot. There was a minute there of like, oh boy, what's going to go on here? And it's almost like, Merab's a durable guy. He's not a guy that gets put away, gets choked out. His style doesn't almost even allow that. And I kind of think, you've got Sean, who, he's a high-level striker, incredible accuracy, great footwork. There are all those things that I think that he does have. But when you're looking at it also, it's like, can he really utilize that in this fight? When he's smothered for 25 minutes again, and what's changed? What's really changed in this fight for me? What's really changed? Is all of a sudden now, O'Malley going to have this elite level takedown defense. He's going to keep it on the feet. Merab's going to get tired all of a sudden now. He's not going to be able to bring it. Like, I don't think there's enough, especially this is it was 8 months ago or something like that last time that when they fought. So I don't think a lot has changed. And I also don't even think even Sean even deserves this title fight. You know what I mean? He lost to him and then comes back and gets another title fight. I don't even think that that's even probably the right move here. I think obviously Sean's a massive star, so obviously he's going to get that kind of love here. But I think it's really where Sean is not going to have the ability to win minutes. That's going to be Merab, and Merab is going to look to take you the distance here. So it's hard for him to get off his offense. It's hard for him to, push off the offense and be smothered and look to continue to fire. I think that's going to be a big struggle here. Again, it's going to be the same thing where Merab is a guy that's going to sell out on the takedowns. We've seen him have 40 attempts in one fight. He's off the charts when it comes to a lot of that stuff here. And again, he's durable. He's been submitted one time and never been knocked out. Yes, he's been hurt, and a lot of these things that I think feel like gets a little bit more talked over than it is. It's because we just don't see him get put away. So when he gets wobbled, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So I think that this is a spot where not much has changed. I think that Merab is going to push the pace. I think he's going to do the same type of thing that he did to Sean here. I know that there was the injury they were saying, or at least I know he had surgery. O'Malley did on his hip or something like that. Now they're saying, hey, that was the big reason why. Or I just don't think there's enough here. I think styles make fights. This is a terrible stylistic matchup for Sean. I mean, there's no other way to really put it outside of him, finding a jumping knee, or something crazy like that. I don't think he has enough to do it to really spark him out and put him away. He's going to have his moments like any fight. These are two humans fighting in a cage. They're going to have their moments here, but I think the pressure, the cardio, the pace, the wrestling, all of those things are just a lot to overcome here. And yes, the line is high here, but if I'm going to take anything right now, it's going to be Merab by decision. I think that, he's not going to get the finish here. I think that, Sean is, squirrely enough to kind of get out of some of these positions. We did see him. He was 6 for 15 against O'Malley last time. So Sean was able to defend some of those. It wasn't like it was a clean wash, but he still got them. He still got the takedowns. He was banking rounds and yet still doing damage from up top. So I think that this is the spot here that you got to take Merab here. Line's a lot different than the last time, but I think the same outcome comes. So I'm taking Merab by decision in this spot.
All right, VB, what you got for us?
Yeah, I had to show my record on betting Merab. In the last 8 fights, I bet him in every fight here.
Nice.
Look at this right here, guys. I mean,
is this a trend?
I love it.
And actually, Kaidu said you got plus 115 last time. I actually got reversed on that freaking line somehow. People were betting O'Malley, right? Like, he went to plus money, I got minus 125 on him. Last fight, he fought O'Malley. I bet him against Umar. I mean, I bet him against Peter Yan. I bet him against Henry. I bet him in every fight. I'm up 20 units betting him, so pretty good, But yeah, that being said, it's always about the line. It's always about the line, and I'm not really feeling minus 300 right now on Merab. Because as you said, it wasn't like close, as you said. I don't think fight was close. I think rounds 1 and 4 were like very one-sided rounds for Merab. You could make a case for 2, 3, and maybe 5. I mean, 5 was shown for sure. Mm-hmm. Even 2 I gave to Merab. 1 I gave to Merab. I don't know. I don't think the fight was very close. I think round 5 was short, and I think round 3 was close. Other than that, I don't think it was close. So it was like Bilal versus Leon, Yeah, it was 48-47, but and 149-46 or something.
It was probably 3-1 going to the 5th. So it was like,
Yeah, that's what exactly. And Merab knew it, and he was trying to coasting in round 5.
Yes, I agree.
So he was like, either I'm up 4-1 or so 4-0. That's what I was thinking, probably 4-0 or 3-1, right? So it's like he was up 4-0 on 1 card and 3-1 on 2 cards. So it's like he just didn't take a risk because like if you look at this fight logically, Merab shouldn't lose round 5 to Sean O'Malley, right? I mean, but he was up. So that's how fights happen sometimes. Like he didn't take a risk, didn't shoot, didn't need to. Didn't need to eat a knee or something crazy. But he did eat a stabbing kick to the to deliver, and then they hurt him very bad, you know. And Merab actually came out and said that when he cuts weight, his body gets very weak, his stomach. I don't know why you would say that, you know, it's pretty stupid, but he came out and said it. So now
why would
Sean
you tell him
knows,
my weakness?
right? So now Sean knows he needs to kick him to the body nonstop to slow him down, possibly. But it's hard to slow Merab down. He's gonna shoot over and over and over. I've never bet against him, and I don't think at this point I'll bet against him here either. You know, I was looking at this line and I was thinking if Sean goes to like some crazy range, like plus 350 or something, maybe I would consider it. But people are betting Sean here. He's down to plus 230. You know, at this point I'm not interested. You know, I'm not betting this money line here on either side. If he gets to like minus 200 or lower, I actually would consider Merab again. To be honest, you know, if this, so it's about where it goes. You know, I think Merab should win this fight 710 times at minimum. But let's be honest, he can also get knocked out. He got hurt in the first fight. He's very hittable. Many people hurt Merab. Many people drop Merab. So we've seen Merab hurt. We've seen him hurt many times. So that's the fight for sure. I don't think he wins a decision. You know, I don't think he does. I really don't. I think it's shown by knockout or not. You know. So yeah, I'm also gonna disagree with you, Kyle. I kind of like the under in a way. I was looking at the SX right now. Let's see what we got. I just think that under is plus 210, right? So
yeah, is it kind of a price play more so, VB, because that is really a big.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit like if Merab wrestles, this overlooks, you know, accurate or even value. But if he tries to get a finish, if he tries to go for a ground and pound, and if Sean O'Malley had some bad moments in that fight in the first one, you know, like he looked kind of broken in some points. So I'm not saying Merab finish is likely, but we're getting plus money on the under. We also have the Sean knockout upside in that under also, you know. So I don't mind the under, you know, at the line we have. So let's see what the success. Real quick.
Just going from, you know, in the first meeting to being, I don't want to say a near pickup. I mean, O'Malley was a slight favorite now. I'm not going to say, go ahead. I know what.
Yeah, you're right. He was picking, but it wasn't an accurate line. You know, like that's why I bet it, and he looked maybe Merab like a minus 250, 300 in the fight. But
the sharps weren't on. I don't think the sharps were on O'Malley, right?
I don't know. You know, because I got minus 125 on Merab and he closed plus money. I think Kyle got plus money, right? So I got reverse seal lead on that. So I don't know. I was the damn sharp. I bet Merab last 8 fights. So my line was right. You know, minus 125 was good line, even though I got 2 plus money. But yeah, I tried to get, you know, right now it's plus 213, and on other books the over is minus 270. So I will try to get plus 270 on this under. I mean, that would be pretty good. And that happens, you know.
Yeah,
I would bet to 200 here. Let's see if it gets filled. I'm gonna wait for Saturday, and by then it should be filled for the main event. So yeah, I'm gonna take the under here small again. It's Merab fight, so under can't be like super live, but at this line I will take a risk.
In conclusion, there, Liam said O'Malley was, and why wouldn't he still? I even after what we saw, and I know I'm not saying that the crowd isn't going to be for Merab for sure, but you know, bettors in general. I mean, you know, O'Malley's kind of still a public fighter. It feels like to me.
Yeah.
He's like more of a celebrity than a fighter right now. I feel like he's such a celebrity.
$2 for a bunch of you know, casual bettors on a big UFC, Kyle. I don't know.
But the Raymond, the interesting thing is his line is moving down. So when the money is coming in,
okay,
it's public or not, bookies are moving it. So I don't know what to make of that. Like,
plus so what is it at now? What's the line at now? It's not 300.
300, no. And then you got a square book like Bovada. I think has moved to 275 today.
You mean O'Malley? O'Malley is plus 225. Merab is 270. Yeah, but Merab was 380 or something. Couple, you know, so he was a big favorite, but now it's moving down. People are betting O'Malley, which makes sense, I guess. But,
yeah, I get it as the money line side. I mean, if you're value, I get it. Like that's always the debate too, right? It's like if you're value hunting, yeah, I mean, you gotta. I mean, Sean's the side when you're looking at that. But if I'm just staring at a fight and looking at it, I don't see much changing. And I think the line becomes kind of warranted at minus 300. That's why I think that I would go with the decision. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, decision is what, minus 120, I think, or what is it?
Yeah, somewhere in there, right?
Something like that. Like it's like 150.
As cappers, sometimes we scoff at a big price. I know that the whales aren't afraid. Sharps aren't afraid to hit that 275. Still, I know on the minus side for Marab. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, VB. Great job tonight, guys, and that's going to be a hot one. Hey, we can't, it's going to be a great fight card, VB, on Saturday night. Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2, UFC 316 at the Prudential Center in Newark. Kyle, you're going to be there. Tell us what's going on at Wager Talk this week and your media schedule leading up to fight night.
Yeah, so I got a couple different appearances going on in VSiN and also going to be on some other podcasts. So excited about it, but looking forward to this card overall. Going to be great. Have some plays up for clients at Wager Talk and ready to rock and roll, man. This is the card. I mean, and the other thing too is we all are, I'm sure, excited that no Apex for like a month and a half or whatever it is. So I think there's like 6 or 7 fights in a row where we're not in the Apex. I'm Apex fatigued. I'm done with the Apex. So it's good to get a little breath of fresh air here. But yeah, I'm excited about it and hope you all cash that money this weekend.
BB, on social media, there were people that wanted to burn the Apex down here, but
don't do that. But it's definitely good that we don't have Apex cards for 2 months. I'm kind of over it, man. People fight get canceled. It's a small cage. What these fights even mean at this point? No crowd, no excitement. It's like almost like a, I don't know, McDonald's version of UFC or something. It's a little bit weird, but it is what it is. I don't mind having fights every week. I would still rather have Apex.
Yeah, that's fights, exactly.
But let's move on from Apex, man. It's not COVID. Come on, man. What's going on. So yeah, thank you, Kyle, for joining. Thanks to the chat.
Thanks for having me.
Joined today. 45 live viewers total. So thank you guys, and also big thanks to Glimbot for testing the super chat. You're the first man to donate to super chat, Glimbot. You made the history. So thank you. Yeah. Raymond, thanks for joining and hosting the show, every week, and see you soon.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys. Great job. Thank you to the chat. We'll be back next time with more VB MMA picks.